Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2019 horror sequel Happy Death Day to you. The sequel to the 2007 film Happy Death Day. Now, this film is directed and written by Christopher Landon, and it stars once again Jessica Roth as Tree. Now, the first Happy Death Day I watched and reviewed on this channel, but I had to go back and check when that was because it wasn't a particularly memorable horror film to me, and I've just watched the review again, checked when it was, and I did it in October 2017 and I gave it 7 out of 10, something like, I think. So didn't really stand out to me, that movie. However, I did remember thinking it was quite inventive and quite a bit of fun, the first one. So we've got the sequel now, and what do we get with this sequel? Well, it's the same old thing, the horror Groundhog Day. However, in this one they try and give an explanation as to why the things that are happening, i.e. why she keeps reliving the same day, etc. So it once again focuses on Jessica Roth's character Tree, who once again finds herself reliving the same old day as she was in the first one. However, the twist this time is it's now in a different dimension. Whereas if you remember in the first one, her mother was dead. In this one, this new dimension, she discovers that her mother is now alive. So she desperately doesn't want to leave this dimension. However, there's another killer on the loose, and because it's a different dimension, who she thinks is the killer isn't the killer anymore. So she's got to try and figure out who this killer is, while at the same time try and get her friends at the college or university to make sure this science project gets working again properly, so that she could stop all this from happening, so she could stop reliving the same old day. It's the same as the first one, rehashed from my perspective. The main strength, I think, of this film is it is quite a bit of fun to watch. Very similar to the first one. It's a reasonably fun film to watch, propped up by a great performance by Jessica Roth, who I think was a standout in the first film, and she is again here. She's a very, very watchable actress, and she does a really, really good job with the material that she's got. The problem with this film, I think, is, well, there's a few problems, but as soon as they tried to explain away what was happening, like one of the strengths of the first one was the mystery of why was she living the same day over and over again, and figuring out what she needed to do to stop reliving the same day over and over again. Whereas this one, they explain it away as some kind of science project, and then they chuck another twist in there, dimensions and things, and it's just a bit. It's a bit, really? I don't think they needed to explain it, you know. However, they do. Now, another problem this film has is it's heavily reliant on the fact that you will have watched and remembered everything from the first film, because it follows the pattern of the first film identically. And the trouble is, when I was watching this, I found myself struggling to remember many of the plot points from the first one, because it wasn't particularly memorable. So it is really, really heavily relying on you watching, enjoying and absorbing every bit of information from the first one. So if you haven't seen this yet, I suggest you watch the first one first, just to refresh your memory. Otherwise you might feel a little bit lost at times watching this film, which I did occasionally. Another bit of a twist on this one is, rather than the killer killing her all the time and resetting the day, she ends up killing herself quite a number of times in order to store information for this science project, and she does that quite gleefully. It would seem, you know, even if I know I was going to wake up, I wouldn't find it particularly easy to kill myself. But she seems to do it with aplomb in this film. And then later on she ends up complaining about it. Well, you know, don't enjoy yourself so much when you're killing yourself then, love, if you're going to complain about it at a later date. And unfortunately, one of the high points from the first one was the killer, the inventiveness of that killer, and I think the killer kind of takes a bit of a back seat in this sequel, in my opinion, which is a bit of a shame. It didn't feel as much of a horror film as the first one, this one. It was going down the realms of sci-fi, this second one, rather than horror. So it's like, you know, a horror sci-fi comedy almost. It's kind of getting a bit muddled and a bit messed up. And I suspect if this is successful, we're going to get more, and it's probably going to get more muddled and more confusing and more annoying, because they're going down the down the avenue of, you know, dimensions now. Will it be time travel next? You know, so I think they're backing themselves into a bit of a corner here with this franchise and making it a bit of a muddled mess. And I don't think they really needed to explain much of it away. I think they could have been a bit more creative in their approach rather than just, you know, a science project, you know. But it is certainly watchable. If you're a fan of the first one here, there's a lot here to enjoy in the second one. Whereas I enjoyed the first one, I thought it was okay. It wasn't a standout film for me, which is why I had to rewatch my review before doing this one, just to remind myself everything about that film. Because I don't think this film does a particularly good job of refreshing your memory when you're watching it. It just assumes you're a huge fan of the first one and you know every single plot point, which I didn't. I found it a bit hard to follow at times. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's watchable. It's a bit too tame for me, you know, in regards to horror. It doesn't show enough. So, but it is watchable. It's a kind of horror cinema release that you would expect these days, but it doesn't stick in the memory, certainly, and less so than the first one. So I hope you enjoyed my review for Happy Death Day to You. It's in the cinemas right now. Go and watch it if you enjoyed the first one. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time on Screen Stars.